I'm excited for you to hear this conversation between Jose Gomez and myself. He chats about how he broke generational cycles as an immigrant and moved to this country, watching his mom struggle to make sure that they had food on the table. That's where his drive, his tenacity, his love for the work that he does today, and even his heart came from. He worked his way up from being just a car salesman to being the national director of sales. Tune into this episode so you can hear how a leader that leads with heart is able to impact lives as well as drive revenue. Jose, why don't you tell us a bit about your company and some of the problems that you guys solve?
Yeah, so our company, we are Pure Cars. We are a data company that allows dealerships to really engage through identifying what data source is best for them in terms of engagement. So we have a Digad partner that we have, or a Digad uh, arm that we have along with our CDP, the auto miner. So we believe that we are the house or the source of all data partners, and then we're able to marry that information into a one-stop shop, one source for all things connecting consumers to dealers. So we allow dealers to understand what is the right message, at what time is the right message, and why is it relevant to the consumer on why we should be engaging with them today.
So, how did you get into that? How did you start your career and how did you get into the work that you're doing today?
Yeah, funny, automotive for me, I've always told or said it's been, my learning, my university of just all things management, all things process, all things um, just understanding business in general. I got my start really early. I was 18, right? I was trying to figure life out at that point. I was, in the right at the cusp of either going on the journeyman route and just going into just electrical and all this power things. I don't even know the name or the term of it, the right term, but I had an interview for that, and then I had two interviews to take on work at a used car dealer or at CarMax. And I went to go try to buy a car at CarMax many months before, and just looking at the operation, I was just, man, I just fell in love with it. I loved everything that had to do with just the hum and the process and the people and just the overall, energy that was inside that place. So after about an 8-hour interview at CarMax, I thought I was going in for an hour, and I was there for about eight, and being offered the job, that really, truly, in my opinion, had changed my life, right? Just because I was able to be 18, go in, not really knowing anything about business, and go through what most CarMax alums will say, KMXU, right? Which would be the CarMax University of just all things how to sell. And that was really a pillar for me to be able to go into the marketplace and understand what it was to really sell the right way. So with the consumer first mentality, and then I was able to be there for about 4 years. And after that, it was just, I got an opportunity to get inside the vendor side with TrueCar.com at the time. We had an office being opened here in Austin, where I am, and they were moving all of their dealer development offices here. And a buddy of mine was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go jump ship for a little bit, try something different." He just had a baby, it was a Monday through Friday job, and he wanted that. And TrueCar at the time was able to offer that, and he loved it, and said, "Hey, I want you to come with me." And then the rest is history. I was there 3 years, then I went, got married, and went to a digital marketing agency at that point after post a true car, and spent just all my time and I fell into the automotive vendor world. And most people will tell you, if you talk to automotive folks or minded people, that's once automotive gets you, there's no leave it. So you're here for the long run.
So you literally started your career kind of on a whim, right? You had two different paths you could take, and you ended up stepping into car sales, and that really set you up for the success that you have now.
It
I'm
really did.
curious so oftentimes, we have people that are listening in various stages of their career, and a lot of times people are just trying to get into the sales world or they don't know what to do. What would you tell 18-year-old Jose today that you didn't know then?
That's a good question. I said, one the biggest one because there was a lot of mentors and a lot of a lot of people that saw the good in me before I saw the good in myself, right? Like they saw the potential, they saw the potential in that 18-year-old kid, but that 18-year-old kid at the time just wanted all the glory, wanted all the success, wanted all of it quick, without really putting in the work and the time and the effort. I'll shout out one name that specifically sticks out in this situation, and shout out to him. He's very successful now, still is. He was my sales manager at CarMax. His name is Scott Hirschman. He was the guy that really truly opened the door and got me to really see just a different side of just wanting to be successful fast. He laid out this huge book, with just processes of things I needed to follow in order for me to get that next step, which was management. And he really truly was all in with me, right? But the young 18-year-old in me was like, nah, I want it now. Like, I don't want to do through all these processes. So skipping loops and all those things was something I often did. And so looking back at it now, if I was staring at that person or that 18-year-old to say, hey, be patient, trust the process, trust the holes. The reason why you're trying to go through that is because you're trying to get an understanding of all the things that it takes for a business to run, both, sales, service, operations, pre-owned and wholesale, and just there's a lot more steps than you just being a manager, right? There's other things that have to go in order for you to do your job. Trust the process would be the what I would put on a t-shirt and give to my 18-year-old self today.
Yeah, that patience. And one of the things that I have seen, and it cuts across industries, the people that are more successful in leadership have had various jobs within that industry or within that organization, right? You talked about being a foreman. So I've seen people who are really good electricians be really great electrical sales managers, right? Because they get it. And so that having that patience to sometimes take those lateral moves and the zigzag moves before you can take that jump, I think is something that we don't often think about or even tell the younger generation as they're waiting, because they all want to be a manager. But do you really want to be a manager? Do you
Yeah.
really know what it entails?
At 18, you definitely don't. I'll tell you that much because I thought I did, and looking back at it now, it's just you're exactly right. Like there's more to it. There's more doors you got to open. There's more closets, right? One of the stories that I know the mentor used to always tell me is like when you go into a house, it's always really clean, right? Like the house is, especially if it's a visitor's, if you're visiting that house. But if you start opening closets, you start seeing that maybe a couple pieces of paper were stuck in there. The toys go into this closet and stuff, and it's just like business, right? Like when you're managing people or managing just a business, it might look really clean when you first step in, but when you start opening those doors, you'll start seeing that, sometimes, and again, an 18-year-old person would not understand how to do that. They would just sit down on the couch and be like, hey, this is great.
Yeah.
But now that someone that's seasoned, you can actually be like, hey, wait a second, this house is, I'm sure there's stuff behind or hidden and stuff that you got to really pay attention to make a business go. So you're exactly right.
So when you think about your career over the past decade, how has the industry really changed for you?
That's another good question. Loaded one too. I think, as I look back and reflect, right? So we have gone, you know, at the beginning. So when I got into automotive, it was 2008, right at the end of 2007, 2008, and that's when the recession hit, right? So
Yeah, the
I
big recession.
remember, yeah, yeah, I remember, trucks at the time. I'll never forget it. People would come in and get their trucks appraised or the SUVs appraised, and man, we were given top dollar. You're talking like a 2008 F-150 was worth, 32,000. I'm just using basic numbers, right? And after the recession hit, that same, and you're talking 4 months, right? You're talking 5 months. It went from 28 grand to 14 grand, like in 4 months. And it was for us operationally as CarMax, now looking back, right? An 18-year-old was just like, let's just keep selling and figure out what happens. But that was a huge deal, right? Because we had to like almost regress on how we purchased. We had to be very strategic on what we want and why we bought, because we remember CarMax keeps 500 cars in stock, 600 car at all times, right? And so they had a pretty practically an open checkbook on acquiring cars. So at that time, that transition was huge for us, but we did it very well in terms of taking the right steps to ensure we still remain profitable. Fast forward, after that, I think we went to the 17, 18 era where 0% was the big thing, right? Cash for clunkers, 0%. Like, so then everyone was just, it was just printing money. We had enough inventory, enough, things to be able to just sell very aggressively. And we were good with it, right? We were selling really well. We were at the probably the top of the spear when it came to all things automotive. And then you fast forward to 2020, right? And we all know what happened in 2020, right? It was the good COVID era, and there was operators that were like, "Hey, we're going to be okay. We're going to keep selling as is," and other ones were like, "No, we gotta peel back, understand exactly what's happening." And it was just one of the most interesting, unique situations to be in because there was operating businesses that would scale back and said, "Hey, we are not going to, be aggressive in the marketplace. We're going to be very, strategic in terms of how we went and how we approach consumers." And then us as a business at the time at S&P Global, that's where I was, Mastermind. We took a very interesting approach where we dialed back in and said, "Hey, we're gonna use this time because everyone was at home, everyone was virtual, to retrain our entire sales organization, just really reinvest in ourselves while the market kind of got itself together." So that was a very interesting, probably the hardest I ever worked, in that era because we were just training people, we were trying to help our associates be better. But then we had that whole entire, 2 years, call it. And then today is also very different, right? It's been like a roller coaster, I would say, in terms of just how the market has transitioned from different, I would call it situations, right? Like you had recession to sell 0% to COVID, and now to just a very unique selling market.
So, of those different, I call them peaks and valleys, mountains and valleys, if you will, which one would you say personally impacted you the most? And how have you, it could be now, or how have you, or how did you work through it?
So I think if you would ask 15 of us, or I would say our national performance team at Mastermind that year, if you would ask them, in 2020 was just a very unique approach because you got to remember our colleagues in the space, right? When we look at, so it was Mastermind, and we had Auto Alert and just other companies in the space, right? That you would see, like, when it hit, we knew we had some tough decisions to make, right? We had some tough decisions. You're talking layoffs, you're talking how are we going to be able to just still make profits, still make goals, still do all things, but we also be able to keep our people, right? And we knew going into it was a very uncertain just time. Like, we just didn't know what to do. And specifically our team, we were a strategic team. We just went into market whenever a dealer was having issues with our product, when they were canceling, when they were needing just additional sources to help them be more strategic with our program. And so for us, when we saw it and we hit, we're like, man, we are done. Like, we're probably, our jobs are going to be out. And our CRO at the time, or CCO, excuse me, Andrew Rains, instead of just saying, "Yep, we're going to go out and just you know lay everyone off," we actually doubled down on our people, and it was our team's
Wow.
responsibility to create this six pillar training program that's focused in on the six most important pieces to consumers and to our to become a better partner, right, inside of our operation. So we were able to build from 0 to 100 all the training curriculums for each individual program that we were going to take these people in. So it's a 6 month training program. So you're talking every day from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. We were on Zooms together,
Wow.
just putting these together. And then we were meeting every week to check progress and just those. And then when we deployed it, and then looking back at it when we were finished, it was just an incredible journey. It was a very tough one. It challenged you a lot because you couldn't physically, see people. You were just a bunch of boxes on the screen. And we were able to reflect back and say, man, we are that business today is so much better because we really instilled that the people process, culture mentality of, like, make sure our people are right. Let's make sure our processes are right. And then, if we have both of those correct, the culture comes next. And that's exactly what we doubled down and did.
And so that is a very, I would say, unique way that many people handled the crisis, I would say, of 2020. Because depending on the business you were in, some businesses boomed, right? Any kind of SaaS products, they boomed. But like you're in the car business, nobody was driving, and
No
nobody,
one.
and people were holding on to their cars longer because they didn't know what was going to happen, right? And
Exactly.
so instead of laying people off or cutting resources, you guys really use that time to invest. And I know that investment into your people, like when the world opened back up, they were ready to go. And I can
Correct.
just imagine what the return on that investment was for you guys.
No, you're exactly right. You said it best in when it comes to just the return, right? Like people are excited, people like doubling down on the company, right? Because a lot of the times we could have just said, "Hey, let's lay off 50% of our people, let's lay off, 60% of our folks," but we didn't. We took them all through, a rigorous training program. But then when we were ready to open those doors, I mean, it was like horses at a Kentucky Derby, right? They were just ready to just go, and they just wanted to be successful and really give back to the time that it was really tough and it was a lot of uncertainty, and our culture was never better. Like it was just we just boomed and we did really really well.
So, within your current organization, what kind of have you implemented some of that training that you did there within your current organization?
Yeah, so I think with pure cars today, I think one of the biggest things that we have done here, or that we've instilled, is just different business front today, right? Like so when we look at that business and compared to where we were in 2020, um, we are in the making of really getting our wheels going, right? Like we had to we were going really fast. We were going, 7 or 8 different directions. But what we're trying to do is really slow down that process, identify our unique offering and value proposition, our mission. What is our mission every day? When we wake up and you were going up an elevator with all of our employees. In between floor 1 and floor 20, you would really be able to tell that story of like, what are we trying to solve for in the space? Right? So what we're trying to do today is slow that mental, still run fast, but be able to go and make pit stops, right? I think of it as like a Formula One car, right?
Yeah.
When you're going around that track 100 miles an hour, you have to take the pit stops. You have to change the oil. You have to change the tires. You have to make sure that your engine is running according to what we need it to run as. But in order for us to do that, we have to invest in our people to ensure that they know when they wake up every day, what is Pure Cars trying to solve? What are we trying to do as an organization? What kind of partner, because we're not going to be a vendor, what kind of partner are we going to be for our dealers? And how are we going to help them solve their mission? And that's just the consumer, right? How do we make the consumer journey better? And so taking those pieces and what we learned back in 2020, even just 23, right? Like just being able to take a couple of those nuggets and be able to instill it, because Rome wasn't built in a day, right? It was built in it takes a process, it takes a village, we got to crawl before we can walk, we got to run or walk before we can run. So just being able to slow down but still run efficiently is important. And that's what we're trying to do here at Pure Cars today.
So how do you balance that? A lot of companies want to go fast, but they know they have to slow down to get the foundation going. How do you balance hitting revenue targets as well as building a strong house?
That's probably the most complex piece, right? Because you're building, we got great people. I'm very, very happy and excited with the team that we have. And so they are understanding that at the same time, we still have to hit a mission. We still got to accomplish that. But being able to just be available and be in the trenches with your people is super important, right? So you can teach on the go, right? So if, like this last month, I was in Boston, I was in San Antonio, in Dallas, in New Orleans, and just being able to interact with people in market is so important because you're able to see them in real time, right? You're able to coach in real time. You're able to develop in real time. But at the same time, as they're going through their needs, they're all professionals. We know for a fact that they know what they need to do. They know that we got to hit goals, but at the same time, the ability to let them be coachable and be able to slow down and say, hey, Mondays, let's be at home. Like let's invest back on ourselves. Let's make sure that we're developing. We're winning the week. We have a sales call on Mondays that it's called win the week. How are you going to win the week? What are you doing to ensure that you're going to win the entire week? And then on Friday you reflect back. Did I win the week? Did I not? How does that look like today? So, yes, you can run fast, but at the same, as long as you have pit stops, I'm a believer of this. I'm gonna be a single person that believes this, but as long as you have pit stops, and as long as you're able to pull over and just check your oil, check your engine, check your tires throughout the week, throughout the month, you're still going to be able to run fast. But if we're not investing and giving back and making sure people understand that you're there to help them or just be a resource, then that car is going to break down. That person's going to give up. That person is going to get hard. There's times that you may not sell anything for a month, right? You have a goose egg month. Hopefully not. But if there is, how are you responding as a leader to that person? How are you responding? Are you going to be the micromanager or the, hey, you did not sell, hey, I'm upset with you? Or are you going to be like, hey, let's reflect. What could we do better next month? What how can I help you in? So being able to just be that resource, I think is important for us to be able to still achieve those goals and be able to slow down and coach and develop.
And so when you think about your sales team, the sales organization, what do you think really drives them? What's motivating them, especially in a tough economic climate?
Yeah. So I think if you'd ask them, right, money would be probably the number one driver, right? We gotta make sure we're doing that, we're paying well, which I think our team at Pure Cars we do a great job at incentivizing and doing really good at that. But the other thing is just I think I would say trust is one. You're making sure that they're all like I said earlier. I think that they're all professionals. They understand what their daily task and what they're tasked with every single day, and that you're trusting as a leader to not be next to them and saying, hey, have you done this today? Have you done this today? Have you done this today? Right? Like just that trust factor of just letting them be themselves, and then being able to not only have a foundation of how we're going to sell a product, but letting them add their unique touch to how they're delivering that product, how they're interacting with their partners, not necessarily making robots out of salespeople. Salespeople, like I'm a big believer that they're going to buy from you as the individual,
Yeah.
not the product, right? And that's
Mhm.
another big one that I would say. Just as long as they know what their mission is, they know what the goal is, we're checking in and loving on them as we need to, drives them hopefully to be successful.
Yeah. And, I think that a lot of times we think or they think that they're driven by money. But when we drill down and really ask that question or understand their motivation, a lot of times it's what money can do for them, right? It's,
Exactly.
oh, I'm trying to send my kids to college and I don't want them to have to pay for it. So that's my motivation. That's what money does for me. Or, oh, I want to be debt free, right? And so it's what the money does for them, not necessarily, I just want to make a lot of money. And I feel like salespeople get a bad rap because people think, oh, they're just driven by money. But no, it's what this money can do for me, my family, how it can impact lives. You know what I mean? And I think that that's really one of the key things that oftentimes we miss.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's funny. I do one-on-ones with all of my salespeople on Mondays, right? So Monday morning, I am on back-to-back calls from like 8 a.m. to you know probably 3 p.m. But I do it because I want to check in with them, and I started when I first got here. I asked them, I was like, hey, we're gonna have a conversation, but the very first thing I'm gonna check on is your mental, your physical, and then we're going to talk about business, right? Like, how are you doing mentally? How's everything going at home, right? And some may want to share tons of it. Some may want to share a little bit of it. But as long as you're just, they're people first, right? They're people before there are salespeople, before there are a number. They got so much going on. Like on the weekends, you'll get sometimes my conversations, right? They're 30-minute one-on-ones, and 20 minutes of that maybe just having them just vent and talk about like what's going on in the world, what's going on in their lives, and just helping them understand, just be a sounding board for them. Like, hey, basketball, right? Like they're coaching basketball, their girls are in basketball, or hey, kids have birthdays, or they're moving, or whatever the case may be. Listening to them and just saying, hey, they're just as much of a person as I am, right? We all have the same problems, and to your point, is making sure like that money factors. Yes, they're gonna want to sell and make a lot of money, but that money, I guarantee you, 10% of it's going back to their pockets. 90% of it's going back to their families, to their kids, to their institutions of the colleges and high schools and things like that. So you want to make sure that you're giving them up, you give them an opportunity to be able to go out and get that. And if they trust you and they feel confident about, their role and what they're trying to accomplish, they're going to get that and they're going to get those funds.
Yeah, and I know like for me when I was in sales, my I always had this goal of I wanted to ensure that my kids didn't have to grow up the same way that I did. And so it doesn't
Exactly.
mean that I give them everything that they want, right? But I want to make sure that I wanted to always make sure that they had what they needed. And
Yeah.
even recently somebody sent a gift for my kids and I was like, "Okay guys, is there something that you guys need or want that I haven't been able to get for you?" And they both were like, "No, we're good." My oldest then was like, "Oh, I could always go for a shopping spree." But
Yeah.
other than that,
Great, mom.
so for me, it's very comforting to know that I've been able to, break some of those things that have been within my family for so long.
Yeah, generational cycles. I often talk about that, right? I was just talking to one of my best friends on, I think, Thursday or Friday of last week, and we were having a heart-to-heart conversation, and it's the generational cycles of people, of our families, right? We're guilty of it. We love our moms, we love our grandmas, we love our great grandmas and grandpas and everyone else, but there's a generational cycle that often happens because the expectation or bar is not really raised high, or just there's never been an expectation. And for me, to your point, same as you, is how do I elevate them, right? How do I put them in the world? Like I have a son that's graduating next week, high school, right? So he's heading off to college, and my conversation with him is, man, I just want you to get a start at your start line should be 10 steps big, further than mine. If I
Yeah.
was able to do that, I've accomplished everything in the world. And we often try to just elevate and break that generational cycle, because if we continue in that, then our kids are going to get the same, you're going to have the same life we have, and then their kids are going to do the things. So it's like, how do you elevate that brand, your personal brand, to ensure that you're starting your families at a much better spot than when you and I did, right? Like where it was, it was very different, I would say.
Absolutely. And I think that it is our responsibility to really elevate that for our families. But as leaders, I think that we should also help the people on our team see
Yeah,
that also, right? Like for me, I know within my organization, like since people have worked for me, they've gone on their first ever vacation. They
yeah,
have had their first ever time serving on the PTA. Like
yeah,
those are things, those are desires that they've had, but they've never had a environment where they felt like they could have work-life balance. And I'm like, don't come to work sick. Don't come to work with like just take the day off. It's okay. We're doing
yeah,
important work, but we're not saving lives. That's what I
yeah,
always say. And I
yeah,
think that when we emulate those things and we don't just say them, then the people within our team and our organization, they're like, okay, he did it. She did it. I think I can do it too.
yeah. Yeah, you should never be afraid to take time off. You should never be afraid to not want to have that conversation with your manager, right? You should never be afraid to miss a birthday with your kids. You should never put, your wedding anniversary, if you're taking your wife to dinner, you don't want to put that off because you're us. I always tell them, and I tell everyone this, and I think our CEO sounds it stronger than me, right? Where we're saying, pure cars will always be here. They'll be here tomorrow. We'll be here next week. You know, Sales will always be here, but your moments in life with your kids, with your wife, significant others, like family, all those things will never be here. They're gonna continue to evolve as a rose, and the petals will start falling, right? Your kids will be from 7 to 10, to 10 to 15, to 15 to 18, and oh man, I should have taken them out for that ice cream. I should have picked them up at the school line so they can see me and we have conversations. Those are all moments you won't get back. So you got to make sure you take care of yourself first. That's why it's people, process, culture. It's a thing that we live by and that we believe in here at Pure Cars.
Yeah, and I think that it's important because he's a junior, so he'll graduate next year.
Oh, nice.
When he was in elementary school, because I traveled for work a lot, but I would put all of his important events on my calendar. So I never missed a school party. Literally the entire time he was in elementary school, and he still tells his friends that today.
That's
and he's an
awesome.
11th grader, right? So the
Sure.
small sacrifices that we make, they impact our kids, they impact our family, and those are memories in their brain, things that they hold on to. Like literally, he's like, my mom, yeah, she never missed a birthday party. And then the youngest one, because first kid, second kid, man, it's a whole thing, right? But I made it to all of his parties too. And I think that when we really understand our why and our purpose and why we actually do this hard work of sales, when we anchor on that, it makes those tough days, it makes those rejection points, it makes those long travel days a little bit easier, a little more
They
bearable.
do. They very much do. And sometimes, I'm on the road sometimes 3 days a week, right? And Wednesday nights come and I'm like, man, I miss my kids. I miss home. I want to be there with them. And but yeah, then you go back and you're like, oh man, I'm getting to be able to spend time and they're getting to do plays or sports or going to school. And then you're like, okay, I understand why we work so hard and why we are in the trenches and making life better for them because at the ultimate days you're living for them and you want to make sure that they have everything that they need to elevate themselves.
So when you think about your position currently where you are, where do you see your company going in the next 5 years?
That's a really good question. You just asked all the good questions today. I love it. I love it. This is great. This is good reflection for me too. But I think, we're very excited in terms of where we're at today. We are I would say at the top of the hill when it comes to just identifying what we want to do, how we want to do it, and why we want to do it. I think we get there, right? So then at the top of that hill, you go down a little bit because then you have to go in and make sure you put all your execution pieces in order, and then there's a flat pane to kind of strategize and brainstorm how you're going to go to market. And we're getting ready to go into that flat pane because we want to make sure that the people that are here for the right reasons. We want to make sure that our vision is right to ensure that we're delivering that offering to our partners. But more importantly, when we marry those two together, we need to soar up, right? And then we're going to get to another hill, and that hill is I can see it, right? We just got to take steps to get there. And I think making sure you have the right mindset, the right culture, the right processes in place in order for us to be able to do that is going to be super important for us. And we're at that stage where we're developing some amazing tools and some amazing technology. We have probably one of the best product teams in the business because they're hard at work at our vision and what we're trying to accomplish here at Pure Cars. Once we have all of those things in order, which we're 30-45 days away, we're going to now be able to go into market and really reintroduce our brand, right? Like what has Pure Car stood for in the last 10 years? We are getting ready to just say, hey, we're doing all that, but we're doing more. And this is why we're doing it, right? So we're at that, at that, at that stage. And I think in 2 years we'll reflect and look back and say, man, look at all the things that we've accomplished. Look at all the brand new partnerships that we've developed. Look at all the ways that we've changed the way people engage with a dig ad agency and a CDP. And then we're going to be very proud of the work and the brand that Pure Cars has been known to market because what we're trying to accomplish in 2 years is we want to become a household name, a redefined household name, right? Because again, people are going to know Pure Cars. They're going to know what we've done over the course of the last 10 years. But I think in 2 years, they're going to be like, wow, like yeah, Pure Cars has really gotten into a different space. And they are the leaders in data. They are the leaders in delivering a good customer service and a world-class offering to our partners. But we're also engaging consumers in a whole different way. And that's what we're trying to do.
So when you think about all of this growth and this innovation and like I can see it in your brain, you see the roadmap.
Yeah.
What are the things that you're going to do to invest in your team or what are the things the company is going to do? Is it investing in the team? Is it new technology? Is it adding more people? How are you going to get to that place you're trying to get to?
Yeah, resource first, right? We want to make sure we allocate the right people, right? We're going to go through a growth mode, both on the CX side, right? So we can sell all the things and we can sell a lot of it, but if we can't maintain it and service it, we're going to have a problem, right? So our focus today is obviously growing our sales team. We have some fantastic positions that we've opened up because we believe that those markets a huge opportunity for us to not only present our brand, but also to be able to just, go in and say, hey, here's who we are, here's how we can help solve your problems. But once we get those in place and we get everybody on board, we're going to have a CX team that can really lead the way of nurturing and delivering the vision that we want for our partners that we're trying to sell. Like, right? Like, what's your vision? Here's what we're selling this vision to you, but we have a CX team, and Rachel and team, Rachel's my counterpart, are really doing a really good job at just redefining what that looks like and redefining our go-to-market strategy when we go to service an account, right? So that right there will be, I think, the biggest, we want to make sure we're aligned, because if you have a sales team running this way and a CX team that way, you're never going to be successful. You got to marry those two together. And so making sure we have alignment and eliminating silos, and giving them the resources that they need to be successful is going to be key for us to win.
Yeah, and I think that something that you said is so important. It's no, the sales team can sell tens of millions of billions of dollars
Yeah.
in things, but if our customer experience team isn't actually fulfilling what our sales team has promised, like we can be riding high to dropping down really, really quickly. And so
Very fast.
ensuring that you're making sure that you're servicing the business that you get is not just about getting the business, it's really about that customer experience on the back end.
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right.
So, Jose, as we wrap up, this has been a really great conversation, and I
Thank you.
want you to share an experience in your life that has really changed the trajectory of how you lead or how you show up today.
Yeah, I think, I'll take it back, way, way, way back. And I'm a mama's boy at heart, but one of my mottos in terms of when I wake up and tackle the world is, I wasn't here by choice. I was here by chance, right? Like, I was here because there was a mother in my life that has played and has had a lot of sacrifices in order for us to be where we are today, right? So when I look at my life 20, 30 years ago, I was just an immigrant child living in Central America, just trying to, make ends meet. And I would watch my mom kind of, do that, right? Because she was responsible for doing all the things and putting food in our table. And sometimes there was days where, I didn't realize this until my mom and I talked about it in depth. But there was times where, there was days that she didn't have much, right? And we would have, which was my favorite, was like breakfast for dinner, right? Like, it was eggs and rice and beans, and that was what we ate. And then when we made the leap of moving to the States, moving to Florida, I just got to see, the hard work and dedication that she took to be able to just be there for us and be a source and give us resources. And looking at that, even at 6 years old, believe it or not, and 8 and 10, I always knew, I always had that chip on my shoulder that this was not choice of mine, right? It was a chance that my mom took for all of us to give us a better life. So when I look at the world and I look at life and I look at my kids and I look at my wife and look at everybody, I know that there's a mission, there's a greater mission that was served, and that was by my mom, to ensure that we had a better life. So I'm never gonna take an opportunity to grow and be successful for granted, because there's other people in this world that would love an opportunity to be at my seat. I'm blessed every single day I wake up. I have a beautiful life, a beautiful, beautiful kids, just beautiful world, that an ecosystem that I'm living in. But it was created by an opportunity that my mother took in order for us to have a say, or a better opportunity at life. So that's what I'm thankful for, and that's what's driven me to be kind-hearted, right? Because as a leader in sales, you can't just be, it can't be just numbers in business all the time. You do have to have a heart, and if you lead with your heart first, right, you're gonna get to places a lot faster and a lot better with a lot better people.
Wow, that is a very touching story, and I know your mother is proud of you, and all the great work that you've done, to really change the trajectory of your family history. You have changed the trajectory of your family history, and it shows up in the way that you lead and the way that you're intentional about all of the things that you do.
Absolutely. That's, one step at a time. And, we won't all be perfect, and we all won't make the best decisions, or the the right moves, and sometimes we'll fail or not do the right things. But you have to be able to have that mentality to know when it's the right time to say, hey, I'm sorry, we didn't do it the right way. We got to go this way. But you got to lead the right way. And I think that's the main focus for us and our team, and even our, Aaron, our CEO. We just want to make sure that we're doing things the right way. And I think here at Pure Cars, and as we move on in my career, that will be kind of the pillar of where I go.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I have enjoyed this conversation. It has been,
same. So
it
much
fills my
enjoyed.
cup, and I've learned a lot about what you do,
Likewise.
and thank you for sharing your story.
No, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me, and hopefully, again, if our paths cross again, we'll love to do this again.
What is the one best way that people can get in contact with you if they would like
Yeah,
to?
you can reach out to me via LinkedIn. I'm sure I'll give you my contact info. You can email, call me. I'm always a phone or a text away. So LinkedIn, we can connect. I'm sure I'll give that to you. You can research it and send it off. But yeah, would love anytime anyone wants to brainstorm talk. I'm always down for a coffee connect, and we could do it that way. And happy to learn from others too. So I'm excited to see where this podcast goes and all the good people that will be a part of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jose, for your time, talent, and expertise today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.